It wasn't a radio message. It wasn't a strategy call. It wasn't even something that happened on track. It was a press release, quiet, corporate, and clinical, that ended the longest-serving command in modern Formula One. After nearly 2 decades at the helm, Christian Horner has been sacked by Red Bull. No dramatic send-off, no farewell tour. Just a cold line in the sand. Thank you, Christian. Goodbye. And with that, one of the most successful, controversial, and politically cunning reigns in Formula One history comes to a close. But this isn't just about one man leaving a team, it's about a dynasty destabilizing at its core. Because when Horner leaves, he doesn't go quietly. He takes with him the glue that's held Red Bull together through title wars, engine failures, and internal power struggles. And now, with Max Verstappen's future hanging in the balance and Mercedes circling like sharks, the timing couldn't be worse. Red Bull isn't just losing a team principal. They're losing control of the narrative. A team that once dictated the pace of the championship is now reacting to headlines. And in a sport where momentum is everything, perception becomes performance. The question is no longer whether Horner's time was up. It's whether Red Bull can survive the fallout. Because if you think this story ends with a resignation letter, you're missing the real crisis. From the outside, Red Bull's dominance in the ground effect era looked untouchable. A technical marvel powered by Adrian Newey's genius, a driver in Max Verstappen operating at peak efficiency, and a leadership structure that had remained remarkably consistent. But under the surface, the cracks had been forming for over a year. Horner's firing isn't a reaction to a single controversy. It's the culmination of fractured alliances, diverging agendas, and a breakdown in the very engineering culture that once made Red Bull so ruthless. It started when the team's once singular focus began to fragment. Key personnel, including several senior engineers, began quietly moving toward Aston Martin, McLaren, and Mercedes-linked projects. Internally, a Cold War emerged between the Horner-led UK operations and the increasingly assertive Austrian corporate leadership, especially after Oliver Mintzlaff assumed more influence post-Dietrich Mateschitz. Strategically, the 2025 car has underdelivered, not catastrophically, but just enough to expose the internal disarray. The RB21 has struggled with tire warm-up and mid-corner instability on high-degradation tracks, issues typically caught early by Red Bull's simulation team and preemptively corrected. But this year, those corrections haven't come in time. Sources in the paddock noted that the feedback loop between Max's driving style, Newey's aerodynamic direction, and Horner's leadership had become less cohesive. Meanwhile, rivals like Ferrari and McLaren have closed the gap, not by matching Red Bull's innovation, but by exploiting the operational indecision that began to creep into Red Bull's race weekends. Pit stop timing has been hesitant. Race strategy has gone from proactive to reactive. For a team that once won through precision, hesitation has become their biggest liability. Horner's departure isn't just symbolic. It reflects a system's failure. Red Bull was too dominant to admit such a failure existed until it was too late. For all the engineering brilliance and corporate structure, Formula One is still a human drama. And nowhere is that more apparent than at Red Bull right now. Christian Horner wasn't just a manager. He was the architect of relationships that powered the team through its fiercest wars. He protected Max Verstappen like a father figure, battled the FIA with surgical precision, and outmaneuvered rivals in the political paddock. That emotional loyalty, particularly from Max, is now in jeopardy. The Verstappen camp has long made it clear they race for Red Bull, yes, but under Horner's leadership. And now, with that anchor gone, there's nothing preventing Toto Wolff from making an aggressive play for the reigning world champion. Inside the garage, the mood has shifted. Engineers are uncertain. Senior mechanics, many of whom followed Horner's vision since the early days, are now looking at a power vacuum with no clear successor in sight. Adrian Newey's partial withdrawal earlier this season already raised questions about Red Bull's technical direction, but it's the emotional leadership that's truly missing. Horner had a unique ability to absorb pressure from above and below, shielding his drivers from corporate interference and his staff from political games. That buffer is gone. Behind closed doors, Max has reportedly grown frustrated with not just the car's unpredictability, but the team's inability to project strength and unity. Red Bull's culture, once defined by fierce internal alignment and ruthless clarity, is fraying. And in a championship fight where every tenth of a second counts, doubt is poison. If Max even begins to question whether Red Bull can provide the environment he needs to dominate, the team's crisis won't just be managerial, it will be existential. In Formula One, chaos isn't just dramatic, it's measurable. And right now, Red Bull's chaos is beginning to show up where it matters most. In the points. After dominating the early phase of the ground effect era, Red Bull have stumbled. From runaway leaders in 2023 to vulnerable contenders in 2025, the numbers don't lie. As of the mid-season break, Red Bull sits fourth in the Constructors' Championship, behind Ferrari, McLaren, and a resurgent Mercedes. The gap to the front isn't insurmountable, but the trend line is damning. Max Verstappen still leads the drivers' standings, but only by 11 points, and Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc are closing fast. That context makes Horner's exit even more destabilizing because beyond his leadership, Horner was the political strategist who knew how to play the long game, when to take engine penalties, how to influence regulation interpretation, where to apply pressure during calendar crunch.